Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, wherever you're watching us from today. Guess we're doing this live. I didn't think I was doing it live today, but apparently I set it up to go live. Keith Engel with my weekly vlog. Don't normally take comments, but we'll take some today, I guess, since we're doing it live. I try not to go too long, and I want to just give some of my top stories of 2022. And to be honest with you, there's a lot we could get into. There's a lot of on-the-field stuff that was exciting. But to me, there's three things that really kind of, I don't know, put an exclamation point on 2022. One was some retirements, big retirements. Another is the direction of sports viewing in this country. Streaming is coming into play big time. It's going to get bigger and bigger. And also, I want to talk about all of a sudden the explosions of big contracts, mostly in Major League Baseball, but other places as well, and what it might mean for the future. Retirements, some huge holes to be filled. NCAA basketball legend Mike Krzyzewski retires after decades at Duke, the winningest coach in the history of the NCAA. Can't be replaced. John Shire's doing a good job trying to replace him now, and I'm sure he will do a fine job. But Coach K set a standard at Duke. Came into that league when it was much smaller than it is now. Duke was not a school that was, a basketball power. It had its moments through the years. It had been to a Final Four just a couple of years before Coach K came from Army, where he coached and played under Bobby Knight. But just a great coach. Nearly got chased out of town before he had a chance to establish what became, a marquee program in college basketball and sports in general. And he did it the right way. People either loved or hated Duke, right? It's a very I can't find the word I'm looking for, but you either love Duke or you hate Duke. And to me, as a sports fan, I'm not a Duke fan, but I love what Coach K did there and what that program came to stand for. It did it the right way. He got lots of five-star athletes to go to school there, but because of who he was and what he turned the program into. And it was still one of the few real institutions of higher learning that didn't lower their standards. Duke, you still had to be a smart kid to go to school there and play basketball. So Coach K will be missed. Serena Williams in tennis. Again, polarizing figure, I guess. Her and her sister kind of burst on the scene at similar times, her sister Venus. And if you haven't seen King Richard, the movie that Will Smith won an Oscar for and then slapped Chris Rock. He's tremendous in this movie, and it's a very good movie about the childhood and the path the Williams sisters took to stardom. And Venus had pretty much retired a few years ago, but Serena became the bigger star. Venus is a great player, don't get me wrong. But Serena was one of the best. She'll be missed on the tennis scene. Also in tennis, Roger Federer decided to step away. Roger Federer, a tremendous competitor over a couple of decades, had a great rivalry with Rafael Nadal. Definitely he'll be missed by the sport of tennis. And, I'm sure there's a whole legion of fans that grew up watching Roger Federer and he was, I'm not a big tennis fan, but he was fun to watch because he was just kind of poetry in motion on the on the court. Where Serena was just power, especially on the women's side, right? Federer felt like a tactician out there. Big Ben Roethlisberger retires from the NFL. Drew Brees retires from the NFL. Actually, Drew was 2 years ago. I shouldn't say that. Luis Pujols retires from Major League Baseball. I wonder how his legacy would have been if he'd never left to go to California, to go to the Angels. If he played his entire career with the Redbirds, would things have been different? I mean, he's still a revered player, but there's something missing those, 8 or 9 years that he was gone, 10 years almost, I guess, gone from the Birds. Great player that chased the 700, where his career had a resurrection the last 2 months of this past season. And one of the great stories of this past year was him chasing 700 home runs to become just the fourth man ever to get to 700 home runs, and just the third with a normal size head. Lionel Messi, soccer. We'll get all the sports in here. Great soccer player and a great Pele. Just passed away here in the last day or so, depending on when you're seeing this. And, there wouldn't be Messi's without Pele. Great player. Goes out a winner of the World Cup with Argentina. Jimmy Johnson, race and NASCAR. Again, I don't do NASCAR a lot on my shows. A great Jimmy Johnson retires this year. Big holes to fill in all these sports, right? Not just their achievements, but their personalities. What they brought to the sport from a personality or bringing casual fans to the sport. Casual fans followed these guys, the Coach K's, the Serenas, the Jimmy Johnsons, the Messis. I'm a soccer fan every 4 years. Roger Federer in tennis, as I said. Big Ben Roethlisberger, he retires this year. We're seeing a huge change in the dynamics of the professional football quarterbacks. Big changes there. Sue Bird, WNBA, another sport that doesn't get enough pub. 18 years with the Seattle Storm. Sue Bird is one of the most consistent players, really helped put the WNBA on the map, and she'll be missed. Synonymous with the WNBA. To a lesser extent in college basketball, Jay Wright steps away. I don't think, I'm not counting Jay Wright so much because I think he'll be back. Tom Brady retires. I guess I have to mention it, but he comes back 40 days later. Probably should have stayed away. So one of the biggest stories of this year was the retirements. Another big story is the way we watch sports on TV, whether it be football, whether it be Major League Baseball, whether it be college football, the NBA is soon to follow. There was a time where cable started to take over from broadcast TV. But then cable became pretty much mainstream, so it wasn't a big deal. You could still get all the important games. And some of those contracts have gone crazy, as we know. The NFL contract is nuts. But streaming now is coming into play in the NFL. YouTube/Google has just won the rights to the NFL package, the NFL ticket. So you will be, and in some ways this is better than DirecTV, which was satellite. Couldn't get it on their streaming service. Now you can get it easily. All you need is a smart TV or a Roku device or a Fire Stick or whatever, and you can get YouTube TV. If you're willing to do that. How they're going to package it, we don't know. Still some rumors they may have per game, a la carte games you can buy. Or buy the entire season for whatever it is now, $369, $400, whatever they go to. But they paid billions of dollars for this package. The game, and you're going to see college. Oh, I shouldn't. Well, let me stay on the NFL. Amazon getting the full Thursday night package, just their first of many forays into this. By the way, they made a big run at getting the entire Pac-12 package from in the college level. They're going to get more involved on the professional football level. You watch. It won't be long before you're going to have a streaming service to watch sports. At least the big games. Broadcast TV, guys, is on its way out. Cable TV is going to become less of a player. I know that ESPN has got all of these contracts with the SEC, big contracts with the SEC, CBS, ABC involved still with the Big Ten, Pac-12. I mean, the affiliations are too much to go into here right now. But even the things that are still on broadcast TV or cable TV today are going to move towards streaming services because all of these entities that I just talked about, ESPN definitely, CBS does, NBC's got Peacock, and ABC's got Disney. There are going to be more and more of these games, and part of these contracts will say that they can move whatever games they want to the streaming portion of their service where people have to pay more money. And maybe that'll become a good thing because you'll be able to get games a la carte. You'll definitely be able to watch every game you want to see. There'll be no game that you won't be able to watch on TV. The downside of that is you may have to pay more. If you want to watch games free on TV, you're not going to watch much. In the years to come, you're not going to watch any of the big games. You'll probably be paying for the Super Bowl before long. You might be paying for NFL playoff games. That's just football. College football, same kind of situation we just talked about. Major League Baseball, Apple, Peacock have all gotten involved in the packages. Makes it hard to figure out where the hell your team is playing from night to night. But they're going to get more involved. You're liable to see Fox, ESPN, TBS, I guess, has the rest of that package. They're going to get pushed on the Major League package next time by the Apples, the Googles, the Amazons of the world. It's just where we're heading. And in some cases, it might make out good. Maybe you don't need to buy entire packages or yearly packages. Maybe you can buy one game. Don't know. But that's where we're heading, guys. Get used to it. You saw the announcers moving all over the board this year. The Fox team of Joe Buck and Aikman go to Monday Night Football. Al Michaels moves from Sunday Night Football to Amazon's new package with Curb Street, which I think they've done a pretty good job. The production over there is a little iffy, but I think Michaels and Curb Street have done a pretty good job so far. Herb Street have done a pretty good job so far. Al Michaels gets a little testy about the games that they get, which I think is part of maybe some of the best viewing we've had on Amazon this year. Mike Tirico. The only team that's really the same is Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, and Tony Romo still doesn't know when to shut up. All of these guys could take some lessons from the dearly departed Vin Scully, who left us this year. Great play-by-play guy. Mostly known for baseball and mostly known for the Dodgers. Did NBC baseball for a long time. But he did football in the 70s on CBS. He was really good. He did golf on NBC. Vin Scully at one time, I think he is one of the best play-by-players ever. He worked by himself much of the time with the Dodgers and did a great job. He knew when to talk and when not to. And the other trend, the other important thing this year is all the money. I mean, listen, this isn't a new year for athletes getting paid. But it is a brand new era of athletes getting paid money that is just, I mean, it was stupid before. It is beyond stupid now. In football, you've got, Aaron Rodgers earning $50 million this year. You've got other guys earning 40. In basketball, you've got guys like that aren't even good players. Oh, they're good players, but their teams are never going to win because they're paying them contracts that give them $40 million a year. And again, I have no problem with players getting money because to me, you're worth whatever somebody's willing to pay you. Some teams are never going to win because they don't know where to spend their money. See my vlogs about the Texas Rangers and Jacob deGrom. That's different than the Yankees signing Aaron Judge for 9 years, $200 million, or I'm sorry, $360 million. But this is a year where contracts just have gone absolutely through the roof. I mean, in the history, where's this number I had here? Hold on. In the history of professional baseball, only 4 players have received deals that extended beyond 10 years. And 3 of them came this month. Trey Turner, 11 years, $300 million. Bogarts, 11 years, $280 million. Carlos Correa with the Mets still on hold a little bit. 12 years, $345 million. Don't forget Aaron Judge and his 9-year deal for $360 million. So guys are getting paid, and Albert Pujols got a 10-year contract when he resigned. A-Rod did. The back end of these contracts, we know these guys aren't going to perform and earn the money the way they did on the early portion of it. And I think these owners in professional baseball are kind of flush with money because of, as I said, the new baseball contract and Apple getting involved and Peacock getting involved. Even though it's a limited number of games, they're paying a lot of money. And there's a lot of money available to some of these teams to spend money. And again, I never begrudge players getting the money. Begrudge some dumb owners who are not smart. Some of these are good deals. I have no problem with Trey Turner going to the Phillies. I think he'll be a great fit. I have a big problem, even though it's a smaller contract, with the $188 million guaranteed that the Rangers gave deGrom. So to me, this is one of the big stories. Longer contracts for guys who are going to be, 40 years old at the end of these contracts. And these teams will have no way out of them. Same kind of thing with college coaches as well, by the way. You see a plethora of guys like Jimbo Fisher or Mel Tucker, Brian Kelly, all these guys signing 9, 10, 11-year contracts where the buyouts, especially early on, are astronomical. If you don't work out, the teams have no way out of these contracts. Jimbo Fisher would cost $86 million to pay him to go away right now. Mel Tucker, 70-some million. Brian Fisher, who they're not looking to get rid of, but the other 2 guys have struggled recently. They've got to either turn it around or these programs will be set back for a decade. So these are some of the big stories in sports. There's other things, the realignment in college football, obviously big stories. Some of the passings, which we'll talk on maybe on a future show. Big doings on the field. The Astros winning a World Series. Dusty Baker getting his first World Series championship. The Rams and Matthew Stafford getting over the top, even though they fell back off the face of the earth this year. They got over the top for the Super Bowl this past year. The whole Tom Brady saga. The Aaron Judge season in baseball was just phenomenal. One of the best seasons in Major League Baseball history, and he gambled on himself before the season was out. Georgia surpassing Alabama maybe as the premier program in college football. So lots of stories on the field, but to me, some of these things off the field are what take precedence. When we see guys walking away, like I mentioned in some of the retirements of this year, that are going to leave huge holes at the places they worked and also in the sports that they covered as a whole. The changing of our viewing habits in the way we watch sports has been changing over the course of the last decade, and it's going to continue to change. So people like me, my age, it's going to be harder and harder to figure out where games are, and it's going to cost more and more money, most likely. Maybe it'll cost less if you don't want to watch anything except one specific team. Maybe it'll cost you less. So that's some of the things that I see as some of the stories of the year. You guys can make your comments. You can agree with me, you can disagree with me. Certainly things I did not include. These were the things I saw as the three biggest stories of 2022. For debate always. There's Billy Colbert. Happy New Year to you, Billy. Finishing up my weekly vlog live today. I didn't even know I was doing it live till I started it. So here I am. We'll replay it again later. Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talk. Have a great new year. We'll start a whole new batch of stories coming up here in just a few days. Have a great weekend.